get to the part that is a bit more difficult than a simple stock, because we have to take out the motor and stuff like that. There's 2 screws on the bottom part, do not lose those. 2mm Allen wrench is what you need to undo the heatsink bottom part of this. Come on. So, the new grip does have its own heatsink in there, so I won't be needing these anymore, but still do not lose the screws for later purposes. Then you see the back of the engine. Note that the plus, the red wire, is on the front and the black wire is on the back. Very important. Also note that on this GMP motor there is a small plus. If you're not, if your motor doesn't have that, you might want to take like a marker or something and write a big plus or a dot on here so you know which side is the plus side. You don't want your gearbox going backwards. Really bad for your gears, really bad for your piston, your anti-reversal latch. Do not let any screw in there, as it's dangerous, and there will be a hole directly into your gearbox. If a screw does disappear in there, you can start opening up the entire gearbox. And that, my friends, is a real pain if you just need to take out a screw. Right, so come on, let's the screw, come out of there. Then the motor just drops out, as you just saw. This is a GMP M120 high-speed motor. It's what they mostly use on their M16s I hear, so it's a good motor. I haven't had any problems with that yet. Then, don't know if you can see it, but in here there's 4 screws. 4 screws and 3 actual holes. And I just keep pressure on the screw and just pull the entire thing off. Guide the wires through the holes. This way it will never fall into the gearbox. Alright. Push out the screw. So we have our 4 screws and our grip. Put this aside. We'll be needing that. So, now, this particular grip has a screw on the side. Screw that off, push that through, take it out. The entire part comes off, the bottom part. Put that aside, we won't be needing that for a while. The same screw as on the heatsink is also in front and back of this grip. Bottom. Go ahead and take those out. They're slightly longer than those two of the heatsink, so bear that in mind. Like that. Then the bottom part slides off. Put it aside, and here we have the heatsink. Now this is a bit on the hard side to get into because it's in a little deeper than on the original pistol grip, so it's a bit of a hassle. But once it will be installed, we'll have a nice PSG style grip. I must say it's actually a very comfortable grip to hold, as even as a left-handed person, because I'm left-handed. See, so the length is slightly different. The long screws are from here, and the short screws go into the heatsink. Right, now this is a good moment to show you what I meant with. We have the 4 screw holes here, 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 and here. And there's a big hole of which the motor goes through, and 2 smaller holes that guide the wires through. So I'm just going to drop in the motor real quick to show you what I mean. As you can see, this is where the motor comes through. There we go. So, must say this is quite tight on the on the gearbox. Also here you can see the 4 screw holes, the wires, and the central hole. So as you can see, red wire goes into the front hole, black wire goes into the back hole, and this is rather on the tight side. It does go on. If it is in your case a bit really too tight and you don't really see any way that it is going on, check which part is rubbing and which part is preventing you from mounting it. Maybe grind that down a bit, or just get another grip. Not all grips are interchangeable. Now you notice that the red wire is significantly longer than the black wire. This is because the red wire will need to go, when it comes out, it has to go to the back and then up again along the motor, and on top it has to go over the motor. So both wires are guided to the back first and then onto the motor. But first we need to put on the screws of the grip itself. Right, so if you're putting in the screws, there's a big risk that your screw will fall off your screwdriver. So to make sure that it doesn't happen, put your screw on top and make sure that your screw cannot fall off. There we go. So it's on tight, it's not gonna come off. Feels really well. Great, so now for the motor. Screwdriver, guide the red wire to the back. Black wire should also be to the back. Get the motor in. Remember where the plus side was and where the... As you can see, this entire project is taking up some time, but it will be worth the effort, I hope. So, where were we? Installing the motor. Patience. Right, so when that is done, you're ready to install the heatsink. The heatsink will align the motor the way it should. So that seems about right. Get the long screws, then the short screws. Short screws go in the heatsink. And just keep pressing down on the heatsink while you're screwing in the screws. That way you're sure that nothing gets in between those. Right, and that is done. This might be the opportune moment to check if to just install a battery and test fire a bit to see if your motor alignment is correct, because on a new grip chances are that it will not be correct. Also check if your wires aren't clipped, or just a normal routine check that everything works, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to install further. I'll do that later. You don't need to really see that, unless you guys want like a instructional video on how to set your motor height, and just let me know in the comments. Jesus, helmet cam is getting warm. My ear is warm. Now to the long screws, front and back. looks like I won't be doing any shooting videos today, as it started raining. Alright, so this bomb, there we go, that's what we want to achieve. Now this grip is a bit, fairly adjustable in the way that you can adjust the cheek, the palm swell. That. You can adjust the swell, the height of your palm, and the angle. So I've noticed that I'll just put it like this, and it'll be fairly okay. There we go. There's no way you can turn this even tighter unless you use pliers, but tight by hand is tight enough. So right there we have a pretty nice setup. Now